People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. The people who get on in the world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, make them. That's a quote by George Bernard Shaw, and that's how we're going to begin episode number 140 of the All Around Growth Podcast. Hi there, everyone. Today is Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. Welcome to the show. This is a show that provides insight and tools in order to help us build the lives and homesteads of our dreams. My name is Rob Kaiser, and I am your host. I am going to read on the way down the driveway, straight out of this morning's meditation, if you want to call it that, by The Rudder of the Day by Dan Miller. Stories and wisdom to kickstart your workday. And Dan Miller is author of 48 Days to the Work and Life You Love. My academic degrees are in clinical psychology, and I believe psychotherapy is a good thing. The introspection and understanding can be very helpful in recognizing where you are today. However, I see many people use psychotherapy as a reason to postpone making helpful changes. Year after year, they claim, I have to work through a lot of issues before I can change. Baloney. Start your changes now. How old do you have to be to draw that line in the sand and start a new day? Are we so sophisticated in our understandings of man that we have to see psychotherapy as the only means for ridding us of our faults and prompting us towards positive change? And this attitude of recognizing the hope that is within us, or is it a submission to weakness? Could it even be arrogance masquerading as spiritual modesty? God's just not ready for me to move on. Can we doubt the power of God to heal us? Can we move from the psychological to the spiritual as we claim the radical possibilities of grace? Don't change just because you need to change or because other people want you to change. Change because you want more. What you are going to is always a better long-term motivator than what you are going from. Focusing on what you are going from tends to keep anger, resentment, bitterness, discouragement, and frustration high. Getting clear on what you are going to will release hope, optimism, boldness, and enthusiasm. Hiding behind an inability to change is often a desire to remain the same. I do understand that the familiarity of comfortable misery may be more desirable than the unknown of potential change. But then be honest about that. If you are living the life you want to live, don't pass the responsibility onto some psychological innuendo. If you want to change, don't get caught up in waiting to change. Remember, success is the progressive realization of worthwhile goals. You can be successful today by taking action toward your goals. Don't let me catch you hiding out on the counselor's couch because of how your mommy potty trained you. Take responsibility for who and what you are today and start the process of becoming what you know you can be tomorrow. And finally, be strong and courageous, all you who hope in the Lord. Psalm 31, verse 24. And finally, one last question. Two of them, actually. What have you been hanging on to as an excuse for a lack of excellence? Can you claim God's resources for today, for the healing you need? There was a lot there. And it's been difficult for me lately to dig inside and really grasp and understand this perspective. It's one that I know I should grasp, but it's not always the easiest for me to do, to hold on to, and to maintain. This attitude of recognizing the hope that is within us, and understanding that we're not quite ready for it yet. I have to work through some things. Is that approach a submission to weakness? Dan wrote, could it be arrogance masquerading as spiritual modesty? I think there are perhaps more of us out there that are listening to this that could view where we're at and our inability to move as a submission to weakness. Because indeed, like you, I am working through many things and oftentimes view that as a valid reason to not act. And sometimes I also find myself getting caught up in wanting to make a change because the proverbial grass is greener on the other side. And it's important for us to understand that we shouldn't change because we need to change, or because other people want us to change. If we take the approach of the grass being greener and change because we're moving away from something, it's going to... I don't know what it's going to result in. And luckily, I don't have much experience in moving away from the grass being greener. There have been a couple times I've done that, but in that moment, I suppose, I felt like I knew that that's exactly what I was doing. And as I moved to the greener grass, I knew it was only a matter of time before it too started to look a little ragged and that it would be time to move on. But at that point, I started making a plan. And perhaps it's very important for me to understand my past habits and patterns and begin to consider how they are applicable now. Focusing on what you are going from tends to keep anger, resentment, bitterness, discouragement, and frustration high. Getting clear on what you are going to will release hope, optimism, boldness, and enthusiasm. Let me read that again. Focusing on what you are going from tends to keep anger, resentment, bitterness, discouragement, and frustration high. Getting clear on what you are going to will release hope, optimism, boldness, and enthusiasm. So when we're in the throes of life on life's terms, Indeed, the grass oftentimes does seem greener. But remember, focusing on what you are going from tends to keep anger, resentment, bitterness, discouragement, and frustration high. It is plausible that if we maintain the mindset of the grass being greener and continuing to look for something better than the situation that we are currently in, we may take the anger, resentment, bitterness, discouragement, and frustration that we are currently experiencing with us, because perhaps that anger, resentment, and bitterness is something within ourselves that is simply manifesting itself in our current set of circumstances, and may continue to do so unless we get to the root cause and understand and get clear on what it is that we are going towards. What are you working for in life? For me, it's quite simple. That's what this show is about. Building the life and homestead of my dreams. It's something that has been on my mind for quite some time. And in order to effectively do that, I decided to talk about it regularly in the form of a podcast. And over the past 6 months, 5.5 months, I'm currently in the 6th month, I've been involved in a community called the 48 Days Eagles. And it's a membership community based around the book, 48 Days to the Work and Life You Love. And the objective is empowering people with a complete and comprehensive understanding of the fact that we can create and design work that allows us to live the life of our dreams. And one of the things that has been suggested for those of us who are struggling is that we do exactly that. We get clear on what we are going to. And what that does, the clarity, when we really articulate this and do so clearly, gives us the opportunity to do something beyond holding that anger, resentment, bitterness that we currently experience in our day-to-day. And it allows us to release hope, optimism, boldness, and enthusiasm. So, if any of this resonates with you and you are feeling tinges of anger, resentment, and bitterness at times, whether it's from your day job, from your relationships, from your children, or anything else, get clear on where you're going. Detail that out and instead of experiencing that anger, frustration, resentment, bitterness, you may begin to experience hope, optimism, boldness, and enthusiasm. And that, my friends, is a worthy goal. If you like what you hear, and you are an iTunes or Apple Podcast listener, in the show notes, there will be a link to click and rate and review the podcast in all capital letters. Click there, log in, and please give the show a rating and even a written review. The algorithms and the internets will thank you. And if you're not an Apple or iTunes listener or user, just give it a rating on your podcast player of choice. Better yet, the show notes will also give you a link to all episodes where you can find and listen to content from the past 140 episodes. And if you have a question or anything you'd like to talk about, you can join the community on Telegram at t.me/allaroundgrowth. If you've got the Telegram Messenger app on your phone, you can simply search for All Around Growth in the groups and join the community there. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening. And participating in this community, listening to the show, and just being aware of your own desire for all-around growth. Well, it's a good thing, and that's what we're all doing. So consider joining the group, consider participating in everything with us, and hopefully I'll see you there. Thanks again. Hope you have a great day. This is Rob Kaiser, and thank you.